What up, guys? Welcome back to another video. This is your boy Shot by Fred. Today we're going to be talking about, does Brazil get old? All right. This is a very common question that I get often. And to be quite honest, if you may or may not know, which you guys might not know, I am not in Brazil at the time. And hang on a second, got somebody calling me. But yeah, so let's get into it. All right, make sure you guys like, comment, subscribe, all that good shit. Today we're gonna be talking about, does Brazil get old? And I would say living in Brazil for any X amount of time, whether it be 6 months or more, you do have to have some type of rejuvenation. Brazil is great by all means. Like, Brazil is amazing. The women, the food, the culture, the cost of living, the weather, I mean, you name it, the parties. Everything about Brazil is great. Of course, it has its drawbacks, right? What are the drawbacks? One of which is you don't have many people who speak your language, all right? And for some of you guys, you're gonna be like, oh, well, shit, that's cool. But if you don't know Portuguese, that can be very difficult to understand and to deal with, all right? So I would just tell you guys that I speak Portuguese and it's difficult. Right? So just imagine the guys who don't speak Portuguese, they don't have anybody to communicate, they don't have anyone to vent to, right? And it can get, I would say, lonely in a sense of just speaking Portuguese, right? And a lot of Brazilians don't truly understand the way we think, the way we operate, our culture, our demeanors, the way we do shit, all right? So you would essentially just be like a guy in a box living in a different country, not truly being able to express yourself fully. So at times it is cool to just like hit another city, hit another country, or hell, even you go back to the States. And a lot of you guys thinking like, bro, I would never want to go back to the States after being in Brazil. You say that because you've only been in Brazil for the weekend warrior type vibes, right? I've been in Brazil for 2 years straight, and I'll be honest, kind of like how Dennis Jean-Pierre said that he stays in Brazil 6 months out of the year, and then he'll shoot back to the States or move around somewhere else. Why? Because you have to have that balance, all right? And a side note, a lot of Brazilians don't truly understand Americans moving to Brazil, right? They automatically assume because you chose to live in Brazil that you have to automatically conform to their way of living, thinking, and everything. You have to accept everything that they do, which I call bullshit. But that's a different video for a different day. All right. But we're gonna stick on today's topic, talking about, does Brazil get old? No, it doesn't get old. There's new things that can happen and transpire every single day. But when it comes to the regard of communication, venting to someone about just clearing your mind off shit, right? Of course, you can call the homies back home that's in the States, but it's nothing like just going to have a beer and just talking with your friends and everybody speaking English, right? And you don't have, and the further you get outside of Rio and Sao Paulo, it gets a little bit more difficult of finding Americans just to kick it with. And all Americans overseas ain't cool. So that's just the reality, right? And when my friends come into town, that's literally my time to just kick it, go out and have a drink and just shoot the shit. But other than that, you're spending your time around Brazilians speaking Portuguese. So if you don't speak the language, I can only imagine, right? Now, there's guys who hit me up and like, man, I'm afraid to even just go outside. And this is their first time in Brazil. So just imagine they don't want to go outside to interact with the people because they fail to learn the language or they don't know the language, all right? So I would say learning the language is cool. It's a bonus. It's a plus. It's recommended highly. But at the same time, you will have to have that time where you just shoot back to the States or go to a different country, or just to have that balance, because it can get overwhelming at times if you are not mentally prepared, or, you know, because it's a lot of videos, bro, on YouTube talking about Brazil, how great it is. It's phenomenal, but it's not a lot of videos talking about moving around to different places. Or even just recalibrating yourself by going back to the States for a couple months and then coming back, all right? It's nothing wrong with that. I feel like some people just think United States is just poison. There is a lot of poison shit, but at the same time, I don't think there's anything wrong with bouncing back for a couple months and then shooting back to Brazil, right? Like I said, I've been in Brazil for 2 years, and shit, I gotta move around a little bit, like just to recalibrate myself. There's nothing wrong with that. So let me know what you guys think. If you guys been visiting Brazil for any amount of time and you guys can relate, like, comment, subscribe, all that good shit down below, and we'll see you guys in the next video.